And I said, I'm originally from Washington, D.C. I'm used to a multicultural environment, right? The only place that I've been to that's predominantly black is Atlanta. I lived in Atlanta for 17 years. And here in the Bay Area, right, in San Francisco, most of the black men here date outside of their race. And I never thought they was a sellout or that they hated black women. I just automatically assumed that because it's more non-black women here than anything, it's easier to get in an interracial relationship here because it's more of them than us.
They call me a god. 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 Let's
I've been single for a long time. Y'all think about this. I've been single. My last serious long term relationship was with my son's father, which was 5 years ago, and then I about 2 years ago I got into another relationship, which was an engagement with somebody that I know since like middle school, right? And we started dating, but we didn't date a long time because I found out that he was on drugs. I don't know if y'all remember that, but I found out he was on drugs, so I broke things off because I didn't necessarily want that around my son. But at the same time, he wasn't necessarily trying to get clean either because he was supposed to go to rehab and he refused. So he chose drugs over me and our long term friendship. Like we had been friends since middle school. And it was just like, you know what? You got to want this. And if you don't want it bad enough to where you like, I'm not going to be on drugs, I'm not going to allow her to help me get clean, then it was like, well, what's the point, right? So I was like, all right, well, fuck it, and it ruined our friendship, and we don't even talk now. I like refuse to talk to him for various other reasons that had to do with his behaviors associated with him being high or drunk, right? So that was 2 years ago, and ever since then I haven't really tried to date. So I just decided to get on a dating site, right, just so I could also be able to have some material to teach y'all when I get up on here, because in the past I've used dating sites just to like invite men to events when I was a promoter in Atlanta. And then when I met my son's father, when I met him, I was actually using the website to promote events in Atlanta, and I was inviting men out. And when I met him, we was friends initially, and then we started trying to be serious. So I was like, you know what? Why don't I start trying to do that again? Why don't I get on social media, get some dating apps, and try to find dudes that I could get on the podcast with, or dudes I could sit down and talk about relationships with, and actually take it serious to see if I could actually find a man to date on this site. And I'm just going to do it as an experiment, right? And baby step into some type of relationship. Now I found a decent dude. Like I found a couple of decent dudes. I'm not gonna spread my business, I'm gonna keep that very private. But if I ever get serious, I promise, like I said in the beginning, you know how social media is real, is not real. You need to separate it from your personal life. It's a parallel reality. It's not a place where you're supposed to like live on it. Like I could share some stories with you, but I don't live on here. This is not like where my real life is. My real life is very, very different. So I don't want to share that. Like I shared Priest with y'all, and I was just like, oh my God, I'm like never doing that again. Anyway, yeah, I'll never do that. So anyway, what I've noticed is as I'm talking to a lot of men, my vetting process is a lot better than it was 2 years ago. And then it was a lot better than it was 5 years ago when I met my son's father. Because now when men talk to me, I'm not necessarily expecting for them to say or do something negative. I'm not expecting them to be cruel to me or mean to me. But I do see the bullshit early on. Like I could pick up on it early on. And when they show it to me, I don't make excuses for them. Like this one guy, let me give you another example. This one guy. All right. Let me rewind a little bit. You guys know I'm celibate, right? So I'm celibate. And so I pray and meditate all the time. So I prayed to God and I said, God, when the right guy comes along, make sure he says the safe word. Okay. And me and God have this safe word, right? I'm not going to tell y'all what the safe word is, but It's a safe word. I never told anybody. No one knows the safe word. And I tell women all the time, pray to God and ask God to say the password. Either the guy is gonna say the password, you're gonna see the password somewhere. Somehow this is gonna be the sign that this is the guy. Right? So I was like, all right, the safe word. Not gonna say what it is, but if he says this word, I know he's my guy. So I'm on social media, right? Why was the safe word in this guy's name? I was like, of all places, because it's a safe word that is not common. It's a word that people don't even use often, right? And I'm like, oh my God. And the safe word gotta be like, what is it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 12. It's 12 letters. The safe word is 12 damn letters. And I was like, what is this safe word doing in this dude's name? I was like, okay, this must be the guy. So I started looking through his pictures. Now, I didn't look through all of his pictures. I only looked at the first two. And I was like, okay, let me stop. Look at his physical appearance, because just because he looked good don't mean he's going to be a decent guy. So I started reading his profile. So I'm reading through the profile. I noticed that he's Christian. I noticed that blah, blah, blah. So I sent him a message. Now, I don't usually initiate messages. If I match with a guy on a dating site, I leave it up to him to approach me. Okay. I don't approach him initially. Right. And so I was like, you know what? This guy has this safe word in his name. So let me just approach him. Right. So I send him a letter. Now, not a note, a message or whatever. Right. So I send it to him, and days go by. He hasn't answered yet. Meanwhile, it's hundreds of other guys just hitting me up like crazy, right? And I'm talking to those guys, taking it as slow as I can, not trying to, move too fast. And I'm just waiting for this guy, and I'm wondering why he has not hit me up. And so I was like, okay, fine, let me just let it go. Suddenly, he hits me up. And I'm like, oh, hey. And I said, I thought you was not going to hit me up because you thought I wasn't pretty enough or I wasn't white, right? And I laughed. This dude was so pissed. He hit me back and he was like, well, I thought you was cute until you tried to make fun of the fact that I got pictures of women of other races in my pictures. I'm not one of these niggas that's a sellout. I don't go out here and I don't date outside of my race. And he was pissed. I mean, he wrote this long shit. And he was like, the woman that's in my picture is from Portugal. She's not even white. And I was like, you don't think Portuguese is what? Anyway, so right. No, it wasn't Portugal. It was Nicaragua. He was like, for your information, the women in the picture is from Nicaragua. And he was so pissed. So I flat out said to him, I said, listen, now I explained to him the whole passport thing. I mean, the whole password thing. I said passport, whole password thing and safe word. And I explained to him, I said, I did not see your other pictures. I didn't look through all your pictures. I went to his page and like 5 pictures down, because remember, I only looked at the first 2. Like 5 pictures down, he's sitting on the couch with a whole bunch of white women. He's the only black guy, right? And I said to him, I'm sorry, I did not see your picture. Like I didn't even know what picture he was talking about. I told him about the safe word and I said, I'm originally from Washington, D.C. I'm used to a multicultural environment, right? The only place that I've been to that's predominantly black is Atlanta. I lived in Atlanta for 17 years. And here in the Bay Area, right, in San Francisco, most of the black men here date outside of their race. And I never thought they was a sellout or that they hated black women. I just automatically assumed that because it's more non-black women here than anything, it's easier to get in an interracial relationship here because it's more of them than us. He was so sorry after that. Like, he came out swinging. Even though my message was laughter, he came out swinging. And that lets me know that before I even came around, he had been dealing with a whole bunch of women who were extremely disrespectful to him, because he was just like, I thought you was cute until you decided to be fucking disrespectful, and just basically cussed me out in the whole message. And that's what I want people to understand, that from your perspective, you may be interpreting something that someone is saying incorrectly because of your own experiences before you even ran into that person. Because he was flat out like, I'm tired of all of the disrespect from black women, upset because, thinking that I automatically want to date white women. And I was like, I don't even know what the fuck. So that means he had a whole bunch of negative experience. I don't look at men dating outside of their races like this negative thing. I don't see that. I don't see why people have an issue with that. I don't care who you date, bruh. Just don't disrespect your non-preference. You feel what I'm saying about? Like if you don't like black women, cool. Just don't disrespect us every time you open your mouth. Date who you date. You feel me? Because you could rest assured that if I meet a man who is Mexican, Puerto Rican, Spanish, again, Portugal, Nicaragua, Asian, I don't give a fuck. If I love him and he love me and we vibe well, I'm gonna be with him. I don't give a fuck if y'all care about his color. That shit don't matter to me because I was raised in a multicultural environment. That's all Washington D.C. was. It was predominantly like when I was growing up, it wasn't predominantly black. It was everybody was every color, and that's kind of how New York is. You know how New York is a melting pot. It's the same thing here in the Bay. So I don't see interracial relationships the same way everyone else sees them who comes from the black community. And so anyway, but the reason why I even brought up the story is because you have to understand when you dealing people, it's you supposed to sit there and vet who they are. He wanted to keep talking to me after that. And I was like, fuck no. Hell no. You had an attitude with me. You immediately off the break without even questioning what I was saying or seeing where I was coming from first, you immediately just thought something was wrong with what I was saying and that I was being disrespectful. So when he was showing me that he's the type of dude to jump to conclusions, he was showing me that he was the type of dude to not have emotional intelligence. He was showing me that. So all I had to do as a woman was sit there and believe him. That's it. Instead of being like, oh, I accept your apology. Let's continue. We can go on a date. No, he showed me from the beginning. And that's what I mean when women sit here and they play victim. They play victim. People show you who you are, who they are. You just have to sit there and vet them. Get a better vetting process. Instead of experiencing something repetitively, negatively, to the point to where now you think all men are bad, figure out why aren't you choosing the right people? Why are you failing the introduction test?